cooking.
The world is changing, and I want to give you guys a perspective that maybe you don't know. Also give you guys some news that you probably haven't heard just because it was happening at the same time that the Ukraine stuff was going on. Let's begin with Ukraine. When it comes to the mineral deal in particular, the one that the US wants, Zelensky is on the table still. He might be wanting to go and take up that offer from the USA, maybe not for security guarantees, but at least to have the US involved in Ukraine in some way, which might be a good way to have the US involved while Europe readies up a security guarantee for Ukraine itself. Well, I think something a lot of people don't know is that there's a lot of raw earth there, there's a lot of good metals, I guess. I'm not a geologist, but the reason I know that is because when you drive through Ukraine, you're gonna see a lot of quarries. There'll be tons of plains and fields, and then there'll be some small little hills, and almost every small little hill feature, there's a quarry. And the problem that I wanna bring up about this mineral deal, probably a small problem, but nonetheless a problem, is that all the quarries in Ukraine are being used as shooting ranges. They're being used as bomb ranges, right? All the videos that you see of me testing FPVs and maybe at gun ranges, a lot of them are quarries. When we talk about, oh, let's go to the quarry today, it's talking about going to the range. We're gonna be shooting our guns. We're gonna be testing out bombs. We're gonna be testing out munitions. Obviously, that's gonna be an issue if you're gonna be mining there. Why? Because I've found mines inside these quarries, large mines that are rusted over and they still have the fuse on it. These are dangerous, all right? These are dangerous, and we got to go clean up the mines before the U.S. can actually dig into them, if this deal comes into play.
It's literally right here somewhere, guys.
You think it made a crater this big?
No.
Something you might not know, you can just go to Ukraine, make bombs, and test them at the quarry.
Come on.
Just drive over to the quarry and blow it up. Nobody will bat an eye. It's normal. And because of that, there's a lot of duds. There's a lot of mines laying around. There's a lot of stuff. Grenades. You know, I found muzzle devices, like completely functional muzzle devices for M16s. We didn't have an M16, but we gave it to our unit. There's a lot of stuff laying in these quarries.
Alright. If I die. And that I am. Good. CPR.
And the reason we use them as shooting ranges is because Ukraine's flat, and when you have this quarry that's already dug in, that we're getting raw earth, you have a backstop and you have a pretty large area of a couple hundred meters where you can do some long range shooting, you can find some area that they dug deeper and put some bombs, test frag grenades. This is just how Ukraine operates. We use quarries as ranges. Just want to mention that. Nonetheless, the biggest news today for me is the ceasefire. When it comes to the Kurds, they've been fighting this freedom war for, oh God, decades. Long decades. And their leader is named Abdullah Öcalan. This guy created the ideology that we in the YPG and the YBS also behold to. We're not the PKK. We're not affiliated. We are completely separate. But we do follow that ideology. The reason that the PKK is considered a terrorist organization is because they were doing actions decades ago inside of Turkey against police officers and against these people because they can't sing songs in the streets or they get arrested. They can't criticize the government or they get arrested. They can't speak their language or they get arrested. They can't say that they are Kurds, not Turks, without being arrested. I think that's worth fighting for, personally. But things have changed. And Abdullah Öcalan, who's been in prison for the last couple decades, thinks so as well. He sees a path towards peace. And because of that, while in prison, he gave a letter over to the PKK saying, dissolve the organization. And he gave a long list saying he believes that there is a path. If we start disarming and if we start dissolving ourselves, there is a path towards freedom for Kurds inside Turkey. Maybe not the autonomy that the Kurds were wanting. Not going to have their own land inside Turkey, but at least respect and at least being able to speak their language. They've been living in tunnels. They've been resisting very strongly, and Turkey's not been able to get them out for a long time. Most of the PKK is now living in northern Iraq, and they're getting bombed for many years inside these tunnels. And for the YPS and YPG that I was in, Turkey likes to say that we are a part of the PKK. We are them, and we're not. We follow the same ideology, but we don't go to Turkey. We're minding our own business inside Schengen, protecting the locals there from ISIS. We're inside Syria, protecting from Bashar al-Assad and ISIS. We are a completely self-defense force. We're not trying to do anything north of us in Turkey. We're sticking to this land and trying to create an autonomous zone for the Kurds inside of Syria and Iraq. And obviously there's Iran as well. So a little history thing, Abdullah Öcalan made this organization to better the Kurdish community and make it so that we can have or not me, I'm not Kurd, but I fought with them, have autonomy inside the regions that the Kurds inhabited. 100 years ago, the lines were drawn, Kurdistan wasn't involved, and the Kurds were split up inside Turkey, Iraq, Iran, and Syria. I was in Iraq and Syria, helping them, but Iran, the Kamal Kurds there, amazing dudes. So the ceasefire is in place right now. This happened just 2 days ago. The PKK is now asking the Turkish government if they can have a meeting with Abdullah Öcalan. See if they can speak to him in person, make sure that he wasn't pressured into saying this, and to also delve into it a little bit deeper because he can only give a one-page letter. They need to be able to talk to him in person and see where his mind is at and why he chose this decision. So they are his commander-in-chief in a way, which is why they ceasefire. But they want to know a little bit more deeply what the plan for Kurdish freedom is without the PKK. Now, my biggest worry is for the options, the YPG, YBS, and the Kamal Kurds inside Iran. The Kurds in Iran have been fighting for their lives. The Iranians are the PJAK, we have the YPG in Syria and YBS in Iraq. They find a lot of the power inside the ideology of Abdullah Öcalan. And without Abdullah Öcalan backing them, there's a big question on what that's going to look like for the Iranian Kurds. These people still deal with oppression. Same with the ones in Iraq and Syria. They still deal with Turkey bombing them actively. And it's very confusing. I think the Kurdish world is changing just like the Ukraine is. I travel internationally as a living. I travel and I help out and I talk about things and I make videos on YouTube. I'm in the Philippines right now. You know what also happened during this whole debacle with Ukraine? Not only the Kurdish ceasefire, but also China saying that the Palawan Islands inside the Philippines are China. We have a lot of stuff happening. A lot of pieces in this chess game are moving. We have to wait a little bit to go and see what actually comes of this. And I want to hold my tongue a little bit when it comes to criticizing things going forward. I want to wait until things are set in stone. When Ukraine has a security guarantee, then I'll talk about what I feel about it. When the Kurds have autonomy, when they have freedom, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. And I don't know if it's my place to criticize up until then. I'm just a foreign player. I'm just sipped in. I'm not anything special. The world's changing a lot. There's a lot of news happening. Make sure to check the other regions in the world. We have Taiwan still. We have the Middle East. We have Israel. We have Ukraine. We have a lot of stuff happening. And I'll do my best to give you guys as much information as I can without turning into a daily update YouTuber. I'm going to do my best to give you guys the most relevant information when it comes out. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for listening. We'll see what comes of this ceasefire deal. We'll see what comes of this mineral deal if it happens. We'll see what happens with Asia. This is the next one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.